Well, good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to introduce myself to you. I have a minute. I'm running for Lansing City Mayor because I have an extensive background both in corporate America and education, nonprofit, and it's a calling. It's an actual calling. And I'll say that in a way in which it allows me to bring together a lot of things that have happened across my professional life. So having worked at American Express and Nike, having worked for the Boys and Girls Club, having worked for the Department of Health and Human Services as a Children's Protective Services worker across Children's Services, having been a coach and working with youth sports, having a degree in public policy, I think this is the culmination of what my professional trajectory has been, and I want to pay it forward and pay it back. I've been given a lot of wonderful blessings, and it's my ability and responsibility to make this a better community, which I appreciate.
Thank you. Next, Michael Joseph Gillinkirk.
Good evening. I am Mike Gillinkirk, and I chose to run for mayor because I believe that we have way too much government as it is, and the idea that government is here to run the lives of people is incorrect. That government is here to serve the people, not to have them cough up all of their money, cough up all of their time to holler and carry on, as is what's going on. And as I've lived in Lansing now going on 35 years, and I watched my city being torn apart and people being divided between what they really want to do and actually have a life. The ability to have a life, have a way of raising a family safely in a neighborhood is something we need to work on. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Harold Lehman Jr.
Well, I want to wake this place up. Thanks for coming. And my name's Harold Lehman, L-E-E-M-A-N, and I'm running for mayor because we need to get this city back to where we need it to be, where it's progressing. We've made so many mistakes in the past several years that people are moving out because they don't think there's any future in Lansing. And I got started at the neighborhood level back in 1976, 78 with the East Side Neighborhood Organization. Then I ran against an incumbent in 1987 called Pat Lindemann. I won the primary, but I got beat in November. I watched the early retirement go through. I still got involved, and I ran in 95 to an open seat for the first ward. There were 8 of us running in the primary. I was fortunate and I won. Less than 100 votes.
Thank you.
I stayed there for 12 years,
Sir.
and I'm very proud of my record, and I would appreciate
Sir.
your support. Thank you.
Thank you. And Andy Shore, 1 minute for you.
Well, thank you everyone for having me. It's great to be here today. I'm Andy Shore. I currently serve as a state representative. Before that, I served as Ingham County Commissioner. I'm a proud Lansing resident. I live here with my wife and my 2 kids, both who attend the Lansing Public Schools. You know, we have change coming in Lansing. We're looking at the next step here in Lansing. I'm excited to have the opportunity to be the mayor in the next coming Lansing. I've got a plan that I've outlined dealing with neighborhoods, dealing with infrastructure and roads, dealing with the city's relationship with our schools, which we've heard some about, and dealing with economic and community development. I think these are some very important issues. I look forward to talking about many of the issues that you all have on your minds. I'm going door to door and talking to voters at their doors to hear what's on their minds. And there's a lot of things we need to do to take Lansing to the next level. I look forward to working with the next council and having good relations to make sure that we can together move Lansing into the future. Thanks.
Thank you. The first question for you all. What steps, if any, do you believe are needed to increase funding to improve outcomes for marginalized communities? And we'll start with you, Judy Brown. 2 minutes.
Related to marginalized communities, well, I guess I hit that demographics. I was born with a two-parent family that struggled. In any other time we would have been considered, we were on welfare. But my parents instilled in us the opportunities to ensure that we got education, that we worked, we leveraged the training that our teachers and our role models. And so I think breaking down the access is education, it's workforce development, it's listening, it's equity at the table. I don't know why I'm struggling with this question. I think I'm struggling with this question because economic marginalization has been such an important quest that I've had to overcome. I've worked very hard for my education. I have a bachelor's, a master's, and a doctorate. I've worked very hard to be on city council. I've been vice president 2 years. I've been president 1 year. And within that time, looked at creating policies and listening to people and bringing their needs to the table and supporting the policies within the city. As it relates to bringing listening at the doors, I'm at the doors, but I've already been at the doors. I've been at the neighborhood association meetings. I have been at the schools. I'm working with Michigan State. I'm working with LCC. I'm working with the school district. Those relationships are already established. So the marginalization is really bringing together existing organizations and empowering them through funding, programming, and making sure that their voice and their prerogatives are being supported. And that's something that I've already been doing and will continue to do as mayor.
Thank you. Next up, Michael Joseph Gillinkert, same question. What steps, if any, do you believe are needed to increase funding to improve outcomes for marginalized communities?
I've been wanting to say this, and since Harold is being loud, I can do that too. But blind lives matter as well. Too many people are dividing everybody into groups. And life is not groups. Life is for individuals. Our Constitution in the United States is for individual life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it is not in terms of what group is the loudest or who can kill the most people. And the number of murders that have gone on in Lansing in the recent past is a continuing suggestion that a lot is wrong going on in Lansing. And it is not the government that is the answer. The government has caused it. We have overspending. We have retirement packages that are nice to talk about, but are not affordable. And the people who have to pay for that are the majority of individuals who are trying to live in Lansing. They don't have the work anymore. There are buildings, the YMCA, the Lansing State Journal buildings are a disgrace to the city. This is the capital city of Michigan, and it looks like downtown Detroit 30 years ago. It's wrong, but the government has done it. We need less government. We need less benefits packages. We need a government that is going to actually provide quality streets, going to see that our schools are actually teaching children so they don't have to be propped up by programs to pretend. We don't need new buildings. We need teachers who teach, who challenge their students to learn, to do creative thinking, to do constructive thinking. Is that 2 minutes?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll do that. Sorry about that. That's my fault. I'll tap in from now on when you put up 30 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you. And Harold Kleeman, same question for you.
What's the question again?
What steps, if any, do you believe are needed to increase funding to improve outcomes for marginalized communities?
first and foremost, we all need to understand that we all live in our little bubbles, in our comfort zones. And that's why this race is coming down to business community versus labor. And in the middle is everybody like you are trying to figure out, who do you want to be this mayor? Who's going to represent you? Who really wants to represent you? Or are they looking for another step to go up? And that's all right, but who really cares about you and the city, so we can be proud of the fact that no one's moving out, people are moving in, and all these individuals, all these individual groups, I want to make sure that we're addressing all issues and that people have not only hope, but they get results. As a ward council member for 12 years, I was not a show horse, I was a workhorse. And the first ward, which was the east side, the north end, and all the way down to Greenlawn by Ingham Medical, things got done. You need your council member to do things, you need a relationship with the mayor's office and all the department heads to get things done. And in the past, things haven't been getting done. And I would hope that bringing this whole question around, if you want somebody that cares about you and your issues, and you want results, you can depend on Lehman to get it done. Thank you.
Thank you. Andy Shore, question for you.
Thank you. So this question is almost two questions. There's a funding component and there was marginalized communities. You know, with funding, I sat through many of the council members, and you hear a lot of, we're going to have more funding for this, more funding for that. And we have priorities in the city. We have a budget that's as low as it was when Dave Hollister was mayor. We have roads we have to fix. We have legacy costs. We have tremendous needs here. So we have to prioritize every dollar. So what I think that we need to do in terms of helping out what we think of as marginalized communities, which is any marginalized community, is we need to engage partners. And we do some of that now, right? We partner with the Boys and Girls Club. We partner with churches. We can partner more with churches, with nonprofits. We need to take all of these resources and help out those that are marginalized. We heard a lot about after-school programs. My children go to the foster center after school because we work, right? We work, so school ends at 3:30. My children go to the foster center. We have all populations at that facility, which the city partners with the school district. We need to utilize existing resources that are out there, and we need to take those and leverage those, whether it's the city and the schools, it's our city and other cities, whatever is out there, we need to catch that and use it. Otherwise, you know, we can try and talk about, politicians will promise, I'm going to fund this, I'm going to fund this, I'm going to fund this, and the budget comes around, and we have to fund our police, our fire, our roads, our legacy costs, and that's like more than, almost the whole budget. So we can't go around making promises that we can't keep. What we can do is try and work with others to make sure that we can figure out how to best assist those marginalized communities and everyone in the city.
Thank you. Our next question is brought by the Peace and Prosperity Youth Action Movement. Question is, what is your plan to exile human trafficking? And we'll start with you, Andy. What is your plan to exile human trafficking?
Exile human trafficking?
Yes.
Exile human trafficking. Well, human trafficking is it's an issue, it's a concern. It's actually something that I've heard as I'm knocking doors and talking to people. This is a matter of engaging our law enforcement. It's a matter of going into our communities, figuring out what the problem is, and solving that problem. As a mayor, I don't want to micromanage our law enforcement. I want to make sure that our law enforcement has the ability to solve those crimes while still ensuring that everything is done right. And human trafficking is something where the concern that I had heard recently, last week or 2 weeks ago, were some things that were going on over on the east side. Well, we should be investigating. We should be engaged with our detectives, making sure that they're rooting out the problems, rooting out the cause, and taking care of it, making sure it doesn't happen again. I was proud to support, supported a whole series of bills in the legislature that tried to not only go after human trafficking, but to help the women who were being trafficked. A lot of times, you saw women who were pushed into prostitution, and then they were being they were going to court and going to jail because of it. we took care of that. We passed legislation to make sure that those women were helped and not locked up as a result of what they were doing, because it wasn't voluntary. This was pressed into service. We need to help the victims. We need to make sure that those pressed into service are put away. We need to make sure our police and our investigators and our detectives have the tools to do that. And I'm happy to work on that. It's one of the things that we should have here in the city.
Thank you. Harold Lehman, same question for you.
Well, being as old as I am, you get a lot of experience on knowing what's going on in the city, in this region. And when you hear about the county jail letting people out at midnight, and men or women, and not making sure they get back safely back to, let's say, the community of Lansing, then that's a problem that we all need to address. And you talk about this human trafficking issue. It's nice that finally somebody has made a note that, yeah, we better start doing something. But it's been a problem for so long that, you know, we really need to quit talking and start doing something about it. And when you find people that are in jail and you find out things that they find out, do the authorities really go out of their way to help them, or do they just tag them and say, well, we're not going to help them out? You know, it's so-and-so. But we really need, as a community, as an elected official, as a mayor office, we need to quit saying, well, let someone else deal with it. We need to deal with these issues. Just like we're dealing with all this overdosing of people. And I had one person that I went out of my way to help back when her grandmother said, Harold, please keep an eye on her if I die. Well, I went out of my way to try to help this young lady, and she passed away at age 38 a year ago. And it's just sad that whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent, elected officials need to start putting down their well, I don't want to get involved attitude and get involved and deal with people. A lot of these people don't want to be I'm just saying, thank you very much. As mayor of this city, we're going to address these issues. We're not going to be afraid of it.
Thank you. The same question for you.
When I worked at the Department of Health and Human Services, it was Family Independence Agency. The city, our statewide program I oversaw was homeless and runaway youth and pregnant and parenting teens. I worked directly with this issue. And one of the things that's been discussed up here is more of law enforcement. It's so much broader than that. We've got so many disconnected and vulnerable youth out there that are looking looking to connect to individuals, or they're just not involved in safety nets. And it makes them extremely vulnerable to be recruited into human trafficking, or they're just unsupervised and people take advantage of them. This comes both with working with law enforcement, absolutely, but it also looks at working with the school district, working with youth-serving organizations, working with faith-based, working with our neighborhood associations, working as a village to really look at our vulnerable youth and our vulnerable women. I think it's very hard, in particular with women, but this is also, it's also a male problem, is making sure that people are wrapped around with resources, mentoring, and services that allow them to be independent and to get their education, and they're not looking for someone to financially support them. Because that's usually the entryway, is individuals that are hopeless and helpless, and they're looking for someone, and then that distribution of power becomes human trafficking. And so I've worked at a state level with pregnant parenting team, homeless and runaway youth, and other family functioning programs directly related to human trafficking. Thank you.
Thank you. And the question goes to Michael Joseph Gillinkirk as well.
First, my campaign slogan is "Let's let Lansing live again." We have, again, a public school system that needs to be teaching children the reality of what's going on. create them to be educated, to have thinking skills and be able to make choices that are good for them. The idea that there are escape programs that the government has created, such as abortions, such as just getting free handouts because everyone is entitled, gives people the wrong impression. We have too many taxes in Lansing. We need them not reduced, not removed, so that we can have neighborhoods where people can actually begin their own business, make their own livelihoods, have a life, and they're not going to be misled by people who are not supposed to be here. And I'm talking especially about people from other countries, that this state, this city have enough homeless people, enough unemployed people. I have a family currently that have been in my home now almost 8 months, and they're still looking for a place to stay. And no one in the city is able to help them out. This is a community problem. They have asked for help, and no one is willing to do so. So I want to see less government being the answers and more coming from the individuals such as churches, quote, nonprofits. We have to come together as a people. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final question for you all. What steps, if any, will you take to give the electorate a voice in who serves on the Lansing Police Commission? And we will start with you, Judy Brown Clark.
And just to repeat the question, it was,
What steps, if any, will you take to give the electorate a voice in who serves on the Lansing Police Commission?
who serves on the and number one of the things I think, and we've done this, having said at City Council, is really encouraging individuals to be on our citizen boards. The Police Commission is extraordinarily important because it really is the law and order of our community. So number one is identifying individuals that should be and represent the voice. So when these openings come available, is to make sure that we have people that are already ready to submit an application to actually be on the board. The second is those police commissions serve the public. And so looking for opportunities to talk with the commissioners and find out where their perspective is, as well as ensuring that it represents what your voice is and how you feel on the issues. I think sometimes when we put people on a commission, there kind of becomes a disconnect between your voice and theirs, or even your access to them. I would really encourage the public to have coffee or sit down or even attend some of the meetings to figure out where exactly the commission's, what's their agenda, what's the discussion. These are open meetings, which means you have every right to sit in those meetings and listen to the discussion. You can pull down the meeting minutes and find out what the discussion is. And look at allies, using the mayor's office, using city council, using other elected leadership, because there may be something happening with the police commission that is being, that's not reflecting your position, and you may need some allies with it. So I think the most important thing is who's sitting on it, and how do we get individuals that are representing your voice, and secondarily, how do you use the Open Meetings Act to make sure that you're being heard within public comment.
Thank you. And again, the question is, what steps, if any, will you take to give the electorate a voice in who serves on the Lansing Police Commission? Michael?
I guess one of the major problems, again, is the police have a role to play. And those people who are involved in causing a lack of peace, a lack of neighborhood quiet, and an ability to live are people who have not been really educated, have been within a family that has been supportive of them as they're growing up. The people who are on this board, commission do need to be. Those who have been in Lansing, have been residents, are aware of what Lansing is, have strong values, and are most interested in ensuring that families have a life, have a place, and have an income. And as mayor, I want to see that the city government, as well as the police, get out of the way of individuals to live their lives as they see fit, not as the government sees fit. We believe in God, not in government. And too many people do the .gov rather than .god. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Lehman, questions on
Well, thank you very much. As Judy indicated, we have all these boards, and citizens are put on these boards to represent you as the citizens of Lansing on a more directly. And we have 4 at large. That's the whole city, representing the whole city, and then 4 wards. And these are the folks that are sitting on these boards for the most part, and in the police department, police board. These people, very fine individuals. They get on there because of their background. And as mayor of this city, I would always want a diverse crowd of board members so that you hear from different perspectives. And it's just sad that sometimes for political reasons, a mayor would take somebody off there because they're not going to support whatever is in front of them, the board in the long run, and would take note of that and get rid of the person when that term is up. But I think it's somewhat silly and not right to do that. We put them on there to have the board be represented from 8 individuals on the board like that. And, I would always be open to hearing from citizens if they don't think if they're not being represented on a board. I'm open to listening to their argument and dealing with it. But it's not right and it's wrong to just put people of the same light and not have diversity in other opinions. And over the years, folks, these boards have had a lot of people just being reappointed. Thank you.
And the question again, what steps, if any, will you take to give the electoral a vote and who serves on the Lansing Police Commission?
Yeah, thank you. The Lansing Police Commission is our citizen body that monitors and makes sure that everything is working right when there are situations and complaints that arise. So we need to make sure to engage everybody. We need to make sure that when we vet people, when people apply, that we have a fair and we have an unbiased board and commission that can take complaints or can monitor what's going on and make sure that the citizens are represented. I think that there have been several groups that I've talked to who have had an interest in having input. And as mayor, I will do that. I will invite the clergy forum. I will invite many of the groups that are here to have input if they want into the people that I will put forward to be on these boards. Again, I'm not looking to swing the pendulum one way or the other. I don't want to bias it one way or the other. I want a fair and unbiased board that can hear issues and complaints and other things that arise, or can work with our police to make sure that we have a well-functioning police department that has appropriate citizen input to the decisions that are being made and to any actions that happen.
Thank you. And those are the 3 questions we have for you today. Again, thank you for coming out. These are our mayoral candidates.